Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for tonight's AB 617 South Sacramento Foreign Steering Committee meeting. I just want to let you guys know that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our district website and on the district YouTube channel. I'll pass it to Pat.
Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you. Our co-leads today are coming from me. I'm in Santa Rosa, California today. Bill is unable to attend. He is recuperating, but still doing well. So hope to see him at the next meeting. I just wanted to remind us, please make sure that you share what you want to share. But while we're doing it, please be sure that we step up, let people express what you need, but then step back, let others express what they need to, and do that in a courteous and cordial manner. All opinions are important and all opinions are accepted. So if we would, David, can I hand it back to you to do the roll call?
Yes, Pat. I could do the roll call. All right. We'll start with the steering committee members. Bishop Chris Baker.
Here.
Jesus Cervantes.
Here.
Spencer Erbro.
Here.
Carlos Fernandez. Rhonda Henderson.
Here.
Tito Hong. Bill Knowlton. Lisa Lindsay.
Here.
John Rice. Taylor Sam.
Here.
Patricia Shelby.
Present.
Vincent Valdez. Or his alternate, Richard Falcone.
Alternate Richard Falcone is present.
And Stephanie Williams. All right, I'll do the district roll call. Mark Lotzenheiser.
Here.
Janice Lamb Snyder.
Present.
Rafe Porter.
Here.
And David is present. And that's it from the district. And now
Amy as well.
Oh, Amy, I'm sorry.
No problem, David. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Good
Amy.
evening.
And Carb, Jennifer Magana.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Jennifer. And that's it for roll call. Let's go back to Pat.
All right, so due to my technical limitations here, I'm going to ask Mark or Janice if you will go to the next item on the agenda. I believe it's an approval of our summary of our meeting notes, but I'm not sure.
Right. So just a quick rundown of the agenda today. We're going to be taking care of the approval of the last in the April meeting meeting notes. The district's going to be giving some updates, some quick updates. We're going to spend a majority, quite a bit of time today talking about an upcoming visioning meeting discussion. And then we'll have a report back out from Rhonda on all the good work that the outreach subcommittee has done. Then we've sent out a survey to the steering committee members about a potential new meeting date. So we'll be reporting back out on some surveys. And then we'll have a district presentation on the incentive programs and an update from Rafe Porter on that. And then we'll talk a little bit about, any new business, future agenda topics, and public comments are, welcome throughout. So with that, the first thing we have is actually to go through some logistics by David on how people are able to, raise their hand during Zoom and how the public will participate. So I'll hand it to David for that first.
All right. So hello, everybody again. So we have staff available to help. If you have any technical issues, please send me an email to the AB 600 clerk, and someone will help we'll contact you. You can also message the host or any of the co-hosts in the message box if you're having technical difficulties. For agenda items with the steering committee discussion, the format will be announced. If you'd like to speak, please raise your virtual hand. To raise your virtual hand, if you're on a computer, you click on the reaction button and select raise hand, and hand icon will be up and it'll show that your hand is raised. If you're calling on phone, please press *9 and you'll hear a message saying that your hand's raised. When called upon, please unmute yourself. By on the computer, you click the microphone icon on the lower left of the app. If you're calling in by phone, please press *6. If you're using both the computer and telephone, you may have to mute both to speak. You can also email comments to AB617 clerk at errorcall.org during the public comment period, and staff will read it out loud. And lastly, for certain committee members, it is appreciated but not required that you have your cameras turned on. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the district YouTube channel. So if you have privacy concerns, you're not obligated to turn on your camera. So with that, I'll pass it back to Pat.
So
And-
Pat,
Okay. Janice, I was just going to ask you, can you go over our previous, what was mailed out for our previous notes?
yeah, so the district mailed out the April meeting notes. I believe it was April 26th meeting notes. And so I think, Pat, you might want to entertain, what is it called?
Motion.
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 It's
Right.
been a while. A motion to approve the previous meeting notes.
Yes, I will. And that was not one in which I was able to attend, so I cannot vote on that. But do I have a motion to approve the previous meeting notes of April 26, 2022?
This is Spencer. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, Spencer, and I have a second from Jesus. All in favor, can we do a roll call vote?
Yes. Give me a second here. All right, it's the roll call vote. Starting with Bishop Chris Baker,
Yes.
Jesus Cervantes,
Yes.
Spencer Erbro,
Yes.
Carlos Fernandez, Ronna Henderson,
Yes.
Tito Hong,
Yes, sir.
Bill Knowlton, Lisa Lindsay,
Yes.
Taylor Sam,
Yes.
Patricia Shelby,
I will not vote. I was not in attendance.
Vincent Valdez,
Or Richard, yes.
and Stephanie's not here.
All right. All right, it has been approved, so approved. The meeting notes are accepted. And then Mark, will you give us our first introduction?
Certainly. So thank you, Pat. And again, thank you for the steering committee members that have joined in the last couple minutes. Obviously, we were catching you as we were going through the roll call there on the votes as well. So real quickly, though, just in terms of some very quick district updates, this one we've already talked about a couple of times, but just a reminder that this fall, we are on track for the phase 3 monitoring opening. We've gotten all the contracting taken care of with the school, and so that is progressing very nicely. I want to recognize and thank Vincent already for volunteering to help with, just getting input on what an event might look like for when we do the opening. We are still open for additional volunteers as well. Again, this would be not having to organize the opening event, but basically just working and collaborating with the districts. So we make sure we're getting an event that's meeting all sorts of needs, the needs of the steering committee, the needs of the community. There may be an opportunity to do a broader air quality piece to this. And so we just want to make sure that we're bringing in a lot of great voices. And so again, thank you for Vince. I know he volunteered at last week's outreach subcommittee meeting, but we are looking to see if anyone else is interested. So I won't quite do the stare down at the moment, but anyone can just, post in chat or email us at any time if you would like to help just provide feedback and input on that event. A couple other pieces of information real quick. We did have now squared away our funding for this next year from the state, so that you should have all received an email from the district on continuation of the stipends. So it is the district's intention to continue stipends. And I believe the way we framed the email is you only need to contact us if you wanted to be opting out. I believe at this point that everyone else has already turned in any and all paperwork for that. But we will be continuing that for both the quarterly and the community engagement meetings through next June. Also on a financial note, real quick, the state is in the process of finishing up some legislation that should be giving some longer term funding to the statewide program. So that is going to be that is good news. It still means on a year-to-year basis, we'll have to figure out exactly what is coming to our region. But this is a huge improvement for those that have been with the program for since the beginning know, and even those more recently. Lately, it's been a year-to-year appropriation from the state in order to make sure what's going on, what's going to be continuing with that. And so this is although the funding is going to be remaining at the same level as it has for the last several years, which obviously the pie keeps getting divvied up further, but at least we know that we will be having some level of funding for the next several years as we move forward with the program. So that's great news, I think, for the program statewide, certainly for us locally. I think it has bearing going into the next item as the committee is looking at the visioning opportunities, and just what that's going to look like. It goes into the piece of discussion we'll have later on in the meeting from Rafe when he talks about the current incentive work, and so definitely wanting the input from the community and the steering committee as we move forward. So those are the district updates.
Thank you very much, Mark. Janice, will you help us go into our next component, I think, about our visioning?
Yeah. So can everybody see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So actually, Mark is going to kick us off to just go through a little bit of a background in terms of a couple of slides that you've seen back in April, recapping a lot of the work that we've done and where we're going in preparation for discussion for the visioning meeting. So with that, I will hand it over to Mark.
Thank you again, Janice. And so real quick, this is intended to be fairly quick as a recap for some of the different things that have been going on. And these slides, I believe, are going to look a little bit familiar because I think the steering committee was primed with some of these slides back in April as well. But this is just a quick trip down memory lane, if you will. It's what we've been doing with all the great work from the steering committee over the last few years to help us as we're preparing for what the future and the next steps are going to be looking for. So back as of 2019, we started working on the community air monitoring plan as a group. We've got the 21 portable sensors installed and still giving some great data to this date. In 2020, we were going into the full implementation of the camp. That included then the phase 2 monitoring. And as those that were able to be in attendance back in April, we went through the latest data dive on a lot of that information that's been collected from phase 1 and phase 2. In 2021, in terms of even outside the normal camp, the steering committee was providing guidance on our implementation funding, helping us know what type of projects were of interest to the community. Rafe will be giving everyone an update in terms of how that feedback and everything has been a tremendous help on guiding the type of projects to be soliciting and then selecting. The phase 2 monitoring wrapped up. And also to name just some other programs, in the past, you've even heard Amy Roberts from the district talking about the new Supplemental Environmental Project Program, which is a program where we're able to steer, or has the potential of steering some of the penalty money that comes in from sources toward local projects. So in 2022, We're obviously, as already mentioned, we're heading into the phase 3 monitoring this fall. We've had all the data is getting posted to the website. We've done one data dive back in April. Certainly that, future data dives as more information comes in is obviously very much on the table. The community outreach, the great website that the steering committee has worked together on, and just touching upon the request from the last meeting, we are going to be in attendance at 2 of the National Night Out events that were requested by the steering committee. So both some of our team members along with staff from the incentive program will be out at both events next week. Really looking forward to that one. And so now it's really about looking in terms of, what are some of these local strategies to help reduce exposure and pollution, and about partnerships as we move forward. I know that was something that the committee themselves had brought up before, is starting to look at what partnerships want to be established, what expansion on work with the existing elected officials, and just whom else to be partnering with in order to implement changes that everyone's interested in. Next slide, Janice. So again, really just where we're sort of at now is we're at that camp. We're in the midst of the camp implementation. So this is about the phase 3 monitoring. It will be continued looking at the data, continuing to share results both with the steering committee and the community. And now it's about, sort of these next steps and going forward. So it is, things that the district will be bringing to the table just as extras. So it's doing things such as the enhanced enforcement in the communities most impacted by pollution. It's about the incentive projects and bringing projects that are of interest to the community and fall within the guidelines that we're bound by. It's about programs like the supplemental environmental program that we just mentioned. It's the outreach subcommittee and the great work that's already going on. The website, I can't speak enough. It just looks fantastic. I think it's such a great job that came out of that one. I know some of the next steps that the subcommittee is working on is helping build that community awareness and how can that look. And so really the visioning for the steering committee to figure out and discuss and see what makes sense for yourselves is, as we move forward with the rest of this year and into the next subsequent years, is what are some local strategies? How do we want to get there? What will the next couple of years, what are the next goalposts really? As we worked on the camp, it was very easy. Here's the camp. This is the goal that we're all heading for. And the great news is we're in the midst of that implementation now. We got through that camp. And so, what are those next goalposts? What is of the primary interest and focus of the committee as we move forward? And I think, Janice, if you want to go to the next slide, I think now we're just going to lead into, and by the way, if it seems like, I'll give a moment for the slides.
Yeah, I would just want to pause for a second, Mark, and want to see if Pat wanted to share any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I see where we've come from, being here from the beginning. We made a plan. We achieved so much of what we planned to do, and I think now we kind of suffer from, hey, we made a plan, but we didn't look far enough beyond that particular goalpost. That now, that envisioning, we have to be broader. What are we for the long term? What is it that we want to achieve in the community? What are all the means we want to go about partnering and educating and moving ourselves forward? I think that's why we're at this important point, and where that goes. Part of that's going to be new leadership here. Part of that's going to be what's the new way that we are going to utilize this new tool with our website and our branding ourselves as SAC Clean Air. So I'm excited by this. I'm excited about where this can go, and where we as a community want to look at what we do, what we what we want to achieve in the long term, in the big picture. What is our dream? What is our aspiration? Not just a particular point. Yes, we've reached making a website. Yes, we completed a camp. But what else? And so that's what I have to say at this point.
Thanks, Pat.
And I think that's a great segue. And so just to help everyone understand, the goal here tonight isn't also to figure out that vision. I think the goal of this meeting is to have the committee decide what are some framework that you want in terms of setting up that time for the group to get together to have a deep dive. Because I think, my guess is that the group would probably want to spend a good chunk of time, even though we have a decent time today just to figure out what it's looking like, but we're figuring that the committee probably wants to get together. And I know there's been interest in person potentially and things of that nature. So I'm going to transition over to Janice just to sort of put some questions out there for the committee to be thinking about as to what's best for yourselves.
Yeah, thanks, Mark and Pat. So I guess my first question is, what is the steering committee's reaction to what, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen real quick, to having a visioning meeting. So something that, people want to do, maybe some initial reactions. Tito.
Hi, Janice. Well, I miss everybody. It's nice to see everyone. For those who are on the outreach team, it seems like we've been meeting more often than anybody else. As you've seen the end product of the website, there's so much contribution from everyone, and I really felt like so proud of being a part of that team. And Rhonda, thank you for your leadership. And I just feel like, there's so much momentum built, even with all the relationship with SNAGs and other organizations. It's been a while. Keep in mind, it's due to COVID. We haven't seen each other. That intimate connections, it's missing. I miss you guys. I want to see your faces, have free lunches, dinner, whatever it is that we used to have to talk about how our lives has been. But I felt like there's so much work that's been done with that website and outreach. And I think a lot of us are just antsy to move that to the next level, right? Community outreach. How do we put this in tangible terms? The language support, the connection, being out there in the fair or the night out, the National Night Out event, all that. So I'm hoping we can put something on the calendar to get out there, see each other again, put something in as a plan to accomplish. I think there's a lot for us to accomplish. As obviously we have new members, but I've never gotten so closer to these other members as I have, and I feel like a really strong family, and I'm even more encouraged we can accomplish a lot more in the upcoming year.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts from steering committee members? Everybody.
Yeah, Tito, you're gonna make me cry. Have a come moment here.
And real quick,
that was
Rhonda,
very nice.
Real quick, Rhonda, I know you're going through a lot. Rhonda just overcame COVID and all the craziness, and she's taking care of her elderly family friends. So we all have family and personal things to deal with. But man, thank you so much for your commitment and your strength as well.
Oh, no problem. I enjoyed being a part of this.
We've got some hands up. I see Richard. I see Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely agree. A deep dive steering committee meeting specifically discussing about next steps is warranted. As a new kid on the block, I can tell you from the communities that I am a part of, there are still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of questions related to the data, what the data actually tells us. There are questions from the community as we talk about where, I'm going to say where you all were when I wasn't an alternate at that time. I know Vince was there and I appreciate Vince's presence, and where we are today Many are wondering why paths were chosen, why decisions were made as they were. And I don't want to hijack this meeting into those discussions. And that's why I say I strongly, strongly recommend a deep dive into this, because there's still a lot of questions. And, you know, Mark and Janice, I know we met following the April meeting and had quite a great discussion, and I appreciate the time both of you spent with me on that. But even since that time, there are still questions. There is still mistrust. And though the data reflects one thing, community is asking other things. So again, I don't want to hijack this meeting here. So I definitely recommend going to having some further discussions, especially as I take a look at the incentives program around the landscapers in there. United Latinos has been doing some work with some of those landscapers, especially those landscapers who may be visa challenged, and how they can, in the future, participate in future incentives that may come from either CARB or Air Quality Management District or State of California. And that's so I'll end by saying, again, repeating myself, yes to the deep dive. We're going to make it uncomfortable. I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to make it uncomfortable with questions, but it's through discomfort in brave spaces that we can come through and make sure that we are addressing the community needs. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Taylor Sam, what's up?
Yeah, so just want to generally say that I am up for the vision meeting. To Tito's point, being a new member of this committee, it'd be very great to meet everyone in person, or anyone who can make it and form that stronger connection overall. And I would like to, really see the ideas that can flow out from those conversations in person. Zoom is a great tool, but it's kind of difficult to get everyone's opinions and all that. So, yeah.
Great. Lisa, thank you,
Hello,
Taylor.
everyone, again. I just wanted to let you know that I have been researching different venues for us to meet out. We talked about meeting outdoors to have well, we didn't call it a deep dive at the time, but that's fine. And I just need feedback on whether you want to meet at a park or a restaurant. I have identified both. I've also identified places in Midtown, places in Elk Grove, and places in Sacramento. So I don't know how to survey. I don't know if I should get in touch with the administrative people to get that information out to everybody, but I have been researching, and we're wide open. I just wanted to let you guys know I've been doing what I'm supposed to do. Also, I'm a little concerned. I'm new too, and I heard something about mistrust. I'm not understanding what that's about. I've been to, I think this is my 4th meeting, I think. And everyone always seems like they are taking care of business, concerned, and have ideas going forward. So I just wanted, I don't want to interject a whole bunch of conversation about it, but it concerns me hearing the reference to mistrust. I don't know what that means. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa, for the research. And I think that's one of the things that we can say, I mean, kind of move towards as well. When and what type of location do we want to try to try to do this in.
I don't know where to survey. Again, do I send that to the administrative level or, I'm not sure.
Lisa, we'll work with you. We can, help put together a survey and send it out to the steering committee members. In the next slide that I was going to show everyone was at the end of that was to ask for volunteers. And we acknowledge that you've had already raised your hand and
Hey.
and wanted to help put that together ready. So have your name down. And so we'll reach back out on seeing what makes the most sense in terms of getting the survey out and the information. So okay. Anybody else before I go through a couple of logistical questions, thought-provoking questions? All right, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. All right, so it sounds like there's a resounding yes to having this deeper dive visioning, what we'll call visioning meeting. And there's a lot of initial planning questions that we may want to talk about, what are the goals of the meeting? What is it to determine our next steps, like we had shared before? And I think that's a lot of what I heard from the feedback that you guys just gave, to reconnect with each other, connect or start connecting with each other so that we can move forward at our next steps for this program. So that's kind of my first question, right? I don't know if I captured everybody's sentiments or if anybody wanted to add anything in terms of what we think the goal of the meeting should be.
Janice, I don't know if it's still up or not, but right as you started, I think Vincent had put up his hand. So I just want to acknowledge that real quick.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Sorry, Vincent. Vincent, you want to?
Yes. I was just wondering, are we going to address some of the comments that were made inside the chat while we were talking about our visioning meeting?
Sorry, I missed that too. We can do. Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Hi, Vincent, and I'm on a phone, but I thought I saw some things going through that you had sent in about renewable for the landscapers specifically, and about some of the diesel truck and replacements and that sort of thing. Did I catch that correctly?
Yes. Well, the final question was, are we allowed to do any of those things in regards to the blueprint? And I noticed things have changed recently on what we are allowed to do or capable of doing as a committee and in the AB 617 process. So I'm just wondering, has things changed to where we can now make outreach to some of these industry changes that could help impact the air quality in our area, especially with the auto and diesel shops all along that corridor from 47th to Florin Road? There's all kinds of them in there. School trucks, diesel trucks, auto shops, and not most of them are not doing any electric vehicles. There is a shortage of electric vehicle repair shops in statewide, I believe. So are we allowed to do that with the money we're receiving?
So maybe I'll touch upon that just very briefly. If you're talking about outreach on opportunities for these different groups, I think that that's an area that absolutely could be part of the outreach efforts of the outreach subcommittee, if that's an interest of the committee. In terms of use of the incentive funds, if you don't mind, Vincent, I'm going to defer that question to the end of the meeting, because we do have Rafe who's going to talk about what's been happening with incentives, and that may give him a couple minutes to either, he may already have the answer, but since we have a part on the presentation coming up on the incentives, that's probably a great question if you're asking on the incentive funds themselves for that time, if that's okay.
Yeah, I can definitely address it during my presentation, Vincent.
Sure, and I have another meeting I have to attend, so Richard will be representing us, and maybe he can ask the question, or if I've already asked the question, maybe you guys could address it at the
Yeah, and maybe I'll just put it in the chat for you as well, and can talk about it during the presentation.
If I could go back to the question that you said about the goal of the meeting, the deep dive. I think it is to wrestle with those questions. What are those next steps? What are the possibilities? What are those things that we want to have some level of focus on? And why are we existing? And what do we want to do with that as time has changed and we have grown and we have found out more? What is it that we want to be able to do longstanding with that? So I don't see where those questions don't fit in that deep dive discussion. They seem like they do to me.
All right. So,
Hey, Jen, Taylor Sam has her hand up.
oh, sorry, Taylor.
No problem. So for me, I envision this vision meeting where we're coming together to put out some ideas, some ideas that can solve some issues, and really just see what's out there. And maybe subsequent meetings could narrow down these things that we can actually tackle and go forward with. So it may be few rounds to figure out. And so I definitely have certain things that I like to see within the community here. So yeah, I definitely have some ideas put out. And I know speaking with Adrian, he had a couple of solutions or even ideas, just having a quick conversation. So yeah, maybe.
Thanks, Taylor. I see Bishop has his hand up. Bishop?
I think it's a good deal. Goal of the meeting, what my thought was, is I've seen some comments where some folks, I'm not gonna try to pull it up now, but like getting the public more involved. I think from day one, we've tried to scratch our heads and figure out better ways to get the public involved. I know definitely I have in several churches. I attend various other places, and I think, certain issues, I think just don't click with people in various parts of the community. If it's not a hot topic where it's talked about every day, I don't know. I just don't think it clicked. I mean, I think we're going above and beyond and notifying the public. I see it on the website, all over. So I don't know what's next. What else can we do to get more public involvement?
And I think that maybe part of this visioning meeting is to, maybe think about next steps where we can all kind of scratch our heads and think about what other things that we can do. And so that's public participation, I think, has been
Struggle.
It has been a struggle, yeah, for us.
Yeah.
And and I think we'll, continue to work on that. Okay, so with that, the next question that I have is when? How soon do we want to have this meeting? We know that, people, are very busy in their lives. Do we want to have this conversation at our next monthly meeting? Do we want to have an extra meetings? And how long do we think the meeting needs to be? So I'll throw this back to the steering committee on what they think it might look like. Do you guys want to do this at your next monthly meeting or an additional meeting that we'll set up separately? That's my first question.
I think that and I've heard it several times, that there was a desire that this meeting, one, is different, that we have a chance to meet in person as opposed to trying to tackle this in the virtual context. So a time and a place where we have that opportunity, and that might be a set out of a variety of dates for us to try to hone in on.
Okay.
The other is time, because I think there is a desire for us across this is to get a deeper connection and understanding with the subject, with each other, and the understanding of the needs of our community. So that takes time, and so I think we need to think about setting this aside like a workshop, right? Where we're going to be together for a half a day, if not longer, to try to work through this, plan a meal that's going to happen. Let's break bread together while we try to do this as well. Any other comments?
For sure, hand is up.
I'd like to comment if I may. United Latinos has close ties with La Familia Counseling Center. And I'm sure if we want to look to an in-person gathering, I can probably talk to Rachel Rios there, Executive Director at La Familia, and arrange some space for us to come together. I offer that out there and you let me know and I can make the inquiries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, in addition to that, Lisa has identified some venues as well, so we need to consider each one.
Right. Bill had also offered the Mac Road Partnership location and their conference room. I'm sure that we could be able to get a conference room or location from the city of Sacramento or the city of Elk Grove as well.
We also talked about being outside for a meeting for those who aren't comfortable in enclosed setting with lots of people.
Yes, I would offer that even with our an inside location, sufficient space to be able to spread out, and that maybe we have a combination of spaces able to have some outside and some inside ability, depending, so that we could be able to plan for weather.
When we put out the survey, should we just give a couple of options in terms of like weekdays or weekends, or do you guys have an inkling already, you know, what day of the week might be what you guys would prefer? I know, you know, a lot of people work and things like that, so not sure how, you know, how that works in terms of, you know, during the day if somebody's working or.
That should probably be part of the survey, maybe.
Okay.
I think we can kind of get, and that may be some like a doodle poll or something like that, that gives us some options with that.
Okay. That sounds great. So we'll put together something that encompasses all of the different options, and we'll hope to hear back from everyone. With that, just let's see. With that, the next question is who? And you know, obviously, it's going to be the steering committee members. You know, district staff could be attending as well. Is this going to be a public or non-public event? Will this be virtual or in person? I think you guys kind of shared a little bit that there might be a preference for in-person outdoor, you know, spaced out venue. So any thoughts about this?
Hey, Janice. I believe that as far as selecting a venue, because we have a couple of options here, we should ask ourselves, what do we require out of the venue? For example, do we need a whiteboard? Do we need notes, and et cetera, et cetera? So
Right.
I'm open to any of these things. But
Yeah, that's a really good point that you're making, Taylor. And my last little box here has volunteers, and hopefully what we also want to get is maybe volunteers from the steering committee to help us plan out the agenda topics and plan out the discussions. Like, how are we going to move from one topic to the next topic? And what makes the most sense for us during that meeting. And so I think we could also work some of those logistics out in terms of what is needed, depending on, the type of discussions and agenda topics we're going to have.
I think no matter what, we're going to have some type of whiteboarding, be it on paper or on an actual whiteboard, that starts to capture and lets us be able to brainstorm and capture the data that we're and the items that we're speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
And some place where you can be able to have some food and beverage.
Mm-hmm.
For folks' comfort.
That sounds good to me.
Of course, and Bishop, I knew it would.
Do we, I think one of the questions I want to go back to is, do we want to make this meeting public or non-public? And so I want to revisit that so we can start all of the planning for this particular meeting.
And maybe just to clarify a teeny bit on that, this isn't a Brown Act committee, so there is some flexibility. Obviously, if there were going to be any decisions, we would want them to come back into a public setting. But if this group, for example, is saying, I heard Pat mention, maybe it's like a half-day event, and there's just been a lot of going back and brainstorming. You may want a smaller group for that. You don't have to. We're open either way. We're just posing the question to the group. But do understand that if there are any decision making would still come back to, if it is just a committee meeting or committee and district, it would still need to come back to one of these meetings, then just be shared, so that there is still that opportunity for public feedback at that point. But we're completely open either way. But just to clarify, in case there's any question.
I think this should be for the committee, since it's a planning meeting. Then after we do the whole planning thing, we can present that to the public for feedback.
I think that there's strength to that, Jesus. The other piece is so that this is also building relationships with each other.
Correct.
And building trust with each other and building understanding with each other. And so, sometimes that's hard to do when you have an audience.
Correct. That's what I was thinking.
And so I just psychologically, it's typically easier for people to speak their truths, express their concerns in that context without an audience. And so my first thoughts would be, so that we can be very candid with our strengths, with our weaknesses, with our vulnerabilities, with our fears, or with our concerns, and with our critique.
I agree, because as I mentioned before, I see this as a working planning meeting. So I believe that would be productive. I mean, to kind of be spontaneous and be honest with each other. We are going to have good results, I hope. Then, after all, we're going to present that to the public for the feedback.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jesus.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Mrs.
everyone.
Tito.
Was there a hand raised? I'm trying to like monitor different screens. Tito?
I'm sorry, for the life of me, I cannot find a hand raising option on my computer. Something wrong with the damn computer. I'm like, my face is up on the screen and I can't get any closer than that. But real quick, I agree with everyone. I think for me, when I'm thinking about this meeting, I mean, I know it's been a while. I think we all want to accomplish a lot in this one meeting, but I think that it needs to take a couple more meetings besides this one to be more effective. So I'm hoping whatever it is that we try to make this as easy as feasible, as time saving as possible, because I know everybody's limited in terms of availability, whether it's weekend, weekdays, outdoor, indoor. So my main objective is whatever it works to make all of us to be there, we'll make it work, right? So I think the longer it is, the harder it is for us to get together. If there's food, I think it's more of an incentive. But if there isn't, then it's just seeing you guys is enough for me. But seeing you guys and having good food makes it a little more pleasurable to be there. So I'm okay with any place, locations. I'm just worried that we get caught up with the logistics and minutia where, we keep going back because nobody agree on the date and time. It's just not gonna work, right? We just got to commit. We're gonna be July, August, September, weekend, weekdays. Let's make it work. It doesn't have to be half a day. It could be 2 hours, but let's commit to it so that at least we get something going because it's been long overdue.
Yeah.
Hope that makes sense.
Yep, I agree.
Great.
Yep.
I think
Got
anywhere
it.
from 2 to 3 hours. I'm sorry, I should have raised my hand.
Was that Stephanie?
I said
Yeah.
anywhere from, I'm thinking that a meeting anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, I think is a good, is a good gauge for in person. I'm just throwing that out there. And I definitely would like to see everyone in person again. And so whatever day that we all come up with, I'm definitely in agreement with that. I don't know if someone could put out maybe a doodle poll or something like that with a couple of options, and we kind of do those surveys, and everybody just selects their availability, and we go with that. So maybe if we can get a couple of options on some type of a doodle poll or something.
Right. Weekend, weekday, evening, afternoon, something that lets people kind of be able to come up with some parameters of availability.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely do that. Let us put something together and see how quickly we can get that out. And then we'll go from there. I am looking for volunteers potentially to also, figure out what the agenda topics are, like, how we're going to move from one topic to another. Do we have any volunteers now? If not, then, you feel free to email any one of us, the AB 617 clerk or myself, as we're, planning this particular meeting. We're also going to be talking about logistics. So Lisa, I'm going to be tapping you for that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do want to acknowledge Lisa has already offered on like some of the logistics side. So Lisa, we'll connect with you before the survey goes out we want to take advantage of all that great research you've already done.
Yeah.
All right.
Put that in your question as well, Janice.
Okay.
I'm just looking at our time. So I don't want to miss Rafe, and I don't want my computer to die. So.
Yep. So I think we got what we need to kick off the logistics. We'll take it from here. Our next is there any comments before we move on to the next agenda topic?
Just from Richard, I would be happy to help Lisa in any capacity.
Oh, great. Thank you, Richard.
Oh, great.
All right. The next item that we have is actually a report back out from the outreach subcommittee. So with that, I'll hand it over to Rhonda.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to give you back the gift of time because our last two meetings, we didn't get a very good turnout.
And so we need to try to meet again to determine our next steps in terms of outreach activities. We did identify Vincent to be a volunteer for that third monitoring at our last meeting. But other than that, we didn't really do that much. So I think it's vacation time for people, and maybe I've burned the candle oil too long working on that website with people. So people didn't show up for the meeting. So I don't really have anything new to report out.
Thank you, Rhonda. All right. So the next topic that we have is the survey results on the new meeting time. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen again. Do you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, Taylor, do you have your hand raised or?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Rhonda, were you able to send out the training materials for the website?
I sent them to the district at our last meeting when you asked for it shortly thereafter.
Okay.
I do need to connect with you so that I can. You said you would help with the website updates and things.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
so I need to connect with you. I need to get your phone number.
All right.
So David, maybe we can maybe set up an external site where Taylor can maybe download the video that that Rhonda sent to us so that he can have access to it.
Okay. We'll figure some out.
Yeah. All right. Survey results on new meeting time. We basically asked, week 1, 2, 3, and 4, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when were people's availabilities? And so as you can see here, we had, how many respondents did we have, David? It was like 6? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I believe we had 8 respondents and then 9 with Richard Falcon.
Okay. So we had 9 respondents, and it seems like Mondays are the most popular in week 1 through 4. Thursdays was also pretty popular, but the district's board meetings are held monthly on the 4th Thursday, so that's a little bit difficult for the district to prepare for 2 meetings on the same day. And then the outreach subcommittee meetings are held monthly on the 3rd Thursday, which is, these 2 X marks that we have here. With that, I'll add that, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are probably easier, I think, for the district, just in terms of, people trying to prepare like on the weekend for like a Monday meeting. But with that, obviously, we want to make sure that it is well attended. So, so for all of you. So with that, I will pass it on back to Pat to maybe discuss if folks want to move to a different day or if we want to stay on the same day. I'll leave it up to you to lead that discussion, Pat.
Folks, I know my own situation, Tuesdays have become quite difficult. I know that for Bill and his business that he's involved in with the city council meetings, Tuesdays has become very difficult for him for attending. But we have no illusions. We're planning for leadership change to come. We see the depth that we have as members here. We want to continue to participate, but the issue is what's good for you as members. So I'd really like to hear from you all. What works or is not working for you? Hello, any comments?
Well, it looks
actually,
like Mondays the open day for people, the best day for people.
Yeah, based on the survey results, looks like a Monday has potential for everybody to have that, to change it to Mondays instead of Tuesdays.
How
I mean, the
how
way it
many
is
members are
now, it
we?
works for me,
Oh.
but if it's gonna be changed, I mean, I would prefer Monday.
Daphne, you
might-
were speaking.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what Janice had indicated about, just kind of the work that goes into preparing for a Monday meeting, that's a little challenging to having to be able to get those things together, for the weekend, just in considering that.
Right.
And just if it's not a Tuesday, I would prefer a Wednesday. I did not vote. But I did also hear that only 9 voted. And so how many members did not vote? Maybe if we can take a just kind of like a poll vote quickly tonight to see where everyone is, since the whole group did not participate in this. It's just I'm just thinking about that.
Janice, do we have the ability, Janice or David, I'm sorry, this is Mark, I'm gonna maybe jump in real quick. Janice or David, do we have the ability, because we have with the exception of Bill and Carlos, I think we've got all of our members here at the moment. Maybe we could put up a quick poll within Zoom for those that did not already participate in, well, we can do it one of 2 ways. We can either just have everyone do it again real quick, but maybe just given that we had a lot of dates and weeks, if those people that did not get a chance to submit the survey before, maybe we could do an added poll real quick internally if we have the technical capability of doing that, and we could move on to the next agenda item. People could take a moment, do that, and then maybe come back. I'm just throwing out options for the committee. Maybe options. David, Janice, do we have the technical capability of putting in a quick poll, or did we have to set that up before the meeting?
I'm sure there's a way, and I'm trying to click on everything right now to get to it. But
I'm not trying to make it complicated.
but I don't know right now. It looks like I can maybe draw on the screen, but maybe what we could do is that we can move on to the next item, and we'll have a presentation, and let me see if me and David can see if we can get something. And then we'll come back and circle on this agenda topic. How's that?
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
I think the issue is because it is summer and a lot of us are busy with whether it's vacationing or various projects. The fall is coming up, obviously 2023 is coming up as well. So I'm hoping maybe, even though some of us might commit on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is, but keep in mind that the schedule will change, maybe November, December, even January, right? So just be flexible in that regard.
Mhm. All right. With that, while David and I try to figure some stuff out, we're going to pass it on to Rafe, who's going to be giving an update on the district's incentive program. So Rafe, floor is all yours.
Yes, yep. And so Rafe Porter, I'm the Program Manager of Transportation and Climate Change Division here at Sac Metro Air District. I'm actually coming from Chicago, hence the background. If you can hear it, there's actually a jazz band down on the street playing right now. So sorry if there's any background noise. We've been meaning to bring you this. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, thanks. This presentation for some time. So some of this information may seem a little old, but I think it's still really relevant. So in 2021, we had another round of incentives that went out. And we're actually still trying to wrap up some of these contracts. We had $18 million to send out. We had a focus on the things listed there, on-road trucks and buses, off-road equipment such as agricultural and construction equipment, on infrastructure for fueling vehicles like charging infrastructure and hydrogen. And we did end up getting a lot of contracts in all of those. The funds that we used for this last round, we had the community air protection funds that you're all familiar with, our traditional Moyer, Farmer, and Prop 1B funds. These all come from the state. And then the CCAT there, those are federal funds that we get through our local metropolitan planning organization, or SACOG, And so these are all funds that we bundled up in this last round, and that's where that $18 million was from. Next slide, please. So we went through a pretty lengthy process even before we set out the solicitation to solicit input from the steering committee on what we needed to be looking at, who we needed to be targeting, and how we should be ranking our projects. So thanks again to Bill and Pat and Rhonda and Vincent, who were all on that subcommittee to help us through this solicitation. As you can see, we opened it up in March of 2021 and it closed in May of 2021, but it takes up to six to 12 months to get some of these contracts done. So we're going through that process right now. We had 5 criteria that we ranked these solicitations on. We gave some points if they were in the AB 617 community. We gave additional points if they were in a disadvantaged community as identified by Count Buyer Screen 3.0. 4.0 wasn't out right now. So that's the state software they use to identify disadvantaged communities. A lot of jargon here, but we also gave a point for AB 1390. This is basically state designated low income communities. And then we gave additional support for anybody that had community support. So projects that came in with something like a letter from a community-based organization, or they were a community-based organization, or they're working in hand. So basically just if they could demonstrate some sort of community support, we gave points to them. And while you didn't get a point for first come, first serve, we do typically put them in order of when we received, and we kind of go through the list. And then again, we worked with the steering committee to do a final review of that. And I think Rhonda might have been the only one that showed up to that meeting. So Rhonda, thanks for helping us go through that process. Next slide. So what did this all look like when everything was said and done? As it says, we had 158 applications with totaling $57 million. So $18 million in funds, $57 million in asks. We did winnow it down to 45 applications that funded with that $18 million. We didn't ignore the rest of the projects because we had so many great projects that were submitted. We did put them on quote unquote pending list. And where that works is some projects end up not getting funded. They decide not to move forward with it for a whole host of reasons. Some projects do fall out, and we kind of cherry pick the next highest ranking projects and start to fund those as well. And we did post them on our website, so if you additional information can be found there. Next slide, please. What does this mean, particularly for the funds that you're all familiar with? These are the community air protection funds. So over the last 3 years, we've had $22 million roughly in these community air protection funds. So these are the funds that need to be used in disadvantaged communities and AB 617 communities specifically. So in year one, we had about $3 million in these funds. Some of the projects that we funded were things like EV charging infrastructures. We worked with SHRA to install some chargers and worked a lot with our community car share program to make sure that those vehicles and those communities had charging infrastructure. In year two, we had a little bit more money. We had $13 million, and we did, based on input from the steering committee, funded a lot of heavy duty vehicles, including a very large project that is in the AB 617 community with some fast chargers and heavy duty Tesla vehicles that should be coming relatively soon. So we'll keep you posted on that. The third year, we got a little bit less money than the second year, but more in the first. So we had about $6 million. This one, we did a lot of school buses. So Twin Rivers Unified School District, which is still the largest EV school bus fleet in the nation, was joined by Elk Grove School District, which is now the second largest EV school bus fleet in the nation. So we did a lot of funding for just the school buses, but also the infrastructure as well. Taking one step back, Mark alluded to some of the work that we've been doing with the state and trying to get some flexibility. So I want to talk about these points a little bit. The state was, both the legislature and CARB gave $300 million for the implementation of AB 617, which was about half of what the air districts actually asked for. We asked for about $600 million. So at that $300 million level, we're able to fund that's the same funding level that we've received over the past few years. And it's just really, as you've all heard, it's not quite enough. And that's why we asked for $600 million. So we're going to continue to work with the state and continue to work with the legislature to try to get more money to implement this. But that also, that implementation kind of impacts some of these incentive dollars as well. And so we're going to continue to push for that, get more money, but we're also going to continue to push for flexibility. And if you followed anything in the chat, we talked a lot about this, and we've talked about it a lot in the past, that having some flexibility in how we use our funds, it's great to get these funds, but you know, our hands are somewhat tied by the guidelines as dictated by the legislature and CARB. And so we're trying to get a little bit more flexibility in how we use these funds as we move through the camp process and potentially move into a SERP. What kind of flexibility can we have in some of these funds, and how can we start to use those to get the projects that you need and want in your community? Next slide, please. I think this is the last slide. So we do have another funding round coming up, either the end of this summer or early fall. This one's a little bit less money right now. It's about $10 million. We do want to engage the steering committee again, so we will be reaching out for volunteers. We do want to front load some of that involvement. We think that the input that we got on the front end about, again, who to reach out to, how best to communicate that with your communities and stakeholders, so that we're making sure that the money is really getting to those that need it, and the projects really are meeting the community's needs. So we don't need to get volunteers right now during this meeting. If you want to, I'll write your name down, but we will be reaching out to get to get involvement. And obviously you don't need to be part of the steering committee. If there's others on the phone that want to be part of that, we're happy to work with you as well. And then the very last thing I'll mention is this won't be our last funding round. We're moving away from doing just one opening per year, and we're going to be just having an open solicitation all the time, so projects can be rolling in throughout the calendar year. We think this is great. It puts, it kind of reduces the onus on the participants to hurry and scramble and put together an application, and instead they can kind of work and submit it when they feel like it's a good fit. So if you've got ideas, you know, we've got this fall timeframe up there. But it may not be a big rush, and you may have more time, because we're going to continue to get funds, whether it's, again, those local funds, state funds, or some of the federal funds that we get through SACOG. So I believe that's my last slide. So I'll stop right there and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Thank you.
Rafe, maybe real quick, if I could, I want to build back upon the chat.
Yes.
And Rafe already touched upon this, but I just want to expand a teeny bit on a couple of the questions that were already posed by both Vincent and others in the chat earlier. Richard had also mentioned some things. So, you know, I think Rafe already answered a little bit of the question that right now the good or bad when we get some of the state funding is sometimes there are limitations. But the flexibility that Rafe was talking about, and this is an area where, you know, this is definitely one of those areas where not only are we looking for community and steering committee feedback in terms of what are the best priority projects, but it is hearing from the community, what are other projects that would be of interest? And, you know, the small lawn and garden was mentioned by both Vincent and Richard and different groups. And while we may not currently have the ability to fund those areas, knowing what the community is interested in, and then having the community support at the legislature is letting the legislature know this is the flexibility that's being asked. You know, this isn't the district coming and saying we think these are good projects. These are the communities saying that these are the projects that are of strong interest and desire that will have an impact right in the areas. And then just having those on this call, but others in the community's support to get the legislature to make those changes. So, you know, it's not that what I want to clear, you know, I think we already said this in the chat anyway, but just to clear, you know, just to reinforce is, you know, we're not just hanging our hats on, sorry, we can't do it, and that's all there is to it. We agree that if these are projects that are of interest to the community, we need to know that so that we can go and make that pitch to the legislature that these are the projects of interest, and then, you know, the support of the steering committee, the community groups as a whole is what hopefully will help us get those changes to do the projects that you're asking about.
And then, yeah, and thank you, Mark. And to build upon that, and I mentioned this to Richard, and I offered to anyone, I did put my contact information in the chat there, but we will push for these changes. We're fairly confident that we can get some of them, and we would love to hit the ground running as much as possible once we get those changes. So, you know, I'd love to work with United Latinos and others on, you know, when these funds are there, let's get the projects implemented right away. So we're not, you know, taking a few months to get a program in place and then be able to implement it. It'd be great to have something up and running. Richard, I see your hand up.
Thank you very much. Yes, and I definitely, Rafe, I appreciate your email address. Sent you a quick email connecting with an option and opportunity for us. Look forward to the discussion. A couple of questions, if I may. One, in regard to the EV school buses. United Latinos is currently working with WRI on continuing studies with handheld monitors within the school bus realm, just to continue bringing data forward, especially comparing electric school buses to the current diesel school buses, and just to demonstrate how effective that they are. So I want to let you know that we are working with WRI on that individually and collectively as part of an EPA grant that we hope to get funded from in around the November, March from, but still time to come there. So I want to let you know that. And I guess the question that comes out of that is, I'm so happy to see Twin Rivers taking a lead. I'm so happy to see Elk Grove taking a lead. You know where the question's coming. Where's Sac City Unified School District in this and why?
Yeah. And I will say that we are happy to say that every school district in Sacramento has received funding for electric school buses. We just funded Natomas in this last round, and they were the lone holdout. So everyone has at least dipped their toe into it. I think others are struggling. There's issues that are very real, like driver shortage is a really big one. We're hearing from a lot of the school districts that they just can't get the drivers in place to, you know, drive any bus. And those that come on board, you know, there's still some hesitancy about driving electric vehicles. So that's one that we've heard. I think getting champions. So we're continuing to work, especially with Twin Rivers, to get their fleet manager to, you know, kind of help us be that champion. So Richard, I encourage you to do the same and let these school districts know that these funds are available. And I think there's even federal funds coming down the pipeline, and that will be able to likely be able to combine with some of the state funds. So, you know, we would love to get more and more school buses out there. We will continue to push that as a big thing. We as the Air District can't force that upon the school district. So we would love to just, you know, kind of find ways to partner. And if you're, you know, we would love to touch base with you before your results and after your research is done to, you know, kind of put that in our marketing campaign, if you will, to school districts about look at the benefits of this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely going to share all that great information with you once it takes place. Regarding the EVs, you know, two areas that are near and dear to the United Latinos are, number one, reach out to your lowrider community. Okay, and I've said this to a number of people at SMUD. I've said this to a number of people throughout my thing in there. We got to demonstrate how you could take lowriders and convert them to electric. Okay, it can happen because the kits are out there. There are kits that are available. They're expensive, don't get me wrong, but there are kits that can convert gas to electric. And if we can convert a couple of lowriders with the lowrider commission and the new lifting of the cruise ordinance, you know, in there, it could be a fun project. Secondly, on there and I take Franklin Corridor as an example. If we can start teaching our mom and pop car repair places how to service electric vehicles, we're approaching that with the workforce development framework through ARPA funding and state funding that the city of Sacramento is working on there. But I think there are opportunities through workforce development and others to teach those mom and pop shops how to work on electric cars so they can also get a piece of the pie. Just putting that out there to you.
No, I think that's great. And just so you know, and you probably know Jaime Lemos, he is completely on board with that, Richard, and has already started the conversations with the lowrider community as well as the Sacramento Auto Museum. I think there's going to be another display of lowriders coming up soon, and we're trying to get a conversion to happen before that. Again, our hands are a little bit tied on what funds are available. We're trying to, bake sales and couch cushions and whatever we can.
And I can definitely understand the fact that we are trying to stay within regulations and guidelines and such for regard for funding. But the argument that I would make to anybody that I speak to is there are many things within our government, within our civilization that has changed that were once acceptable, such as, I'm going to just put it out there, the ability for Blacks to vote, the ability for women to vote. There was a time when that was hamstrung and you couldn't do it. But through proper organization and advocacy, we got the vote for women. We got the vote for minorities in there. Though we are hamstrung, we call ourselves in Sacramento a sanctuary city. If we are truly a sanctuary city, let's work with that population that we are keeping near and dear to our hearts and help them to be successful and to achieve the American dream. So
I like
put
it.
that out there to you.
I like it. Thank you. Maybe we'll just ask for forgiveness later instead of permission. All right, Spencer, saw your hand up as well.
Spencer?
Yes, I have a question. We were talking about this in an early agenda item, but Mark just prompted me again. So doing the background on this committee, I see data monitoring and things, and obviously community outreach is very strong. But when you talk about advocacy with local, and when Rafe is talking about trying to, contact about programs that are coming up, are those things that are the district driven? Is that something that this committee is supposed to come up with, or where do those projects or whatever, where are they being generated from?
Yeah. So Spencer, maybe I'll take an initial stab and others of our team will jump in as appropriate as well. So I think the outreach and on those type of things is combined. And the reason I say combined is, the district's going to be doing it. But, and I think there was even pieces about this in the chat earlier, is that, we look also to all of your respective expertise on how to share information. And that's one of the reasons why the outreach subcommittee even came together, was to help, decide, what are some of the key pieces of information? How do we share that out there? How do we go about doing it? We had the ask from Rhonda at the last meeting, and also Jesus had asked in terms of like the National Night Out, for example. And so, once we knew that, hey, this is something that's happening again this year, and there was an interest because a few years ago when we did it, they thought it was pretty successful. So as soon as we got back in the office, I told my team, hey, we're making this happen. This is an opportunity, it's an ask, it's right in the community. And so that's a place where both some of my staff and staff from the group that Rafe works with are both going to be out at these national night outs to share information both on the monitoring and sharing information on the incentive programs. So I think it's a little bit of a both, if you will, in the sense that, as we know of different things, as we are able to be there and participate in that, we will. And so it's a combination. Then just high level, there's sort of the two pieces that happen. Obviously, we have the piece that's actually on the monitoring, and we have a much smaller piece of the pie for working on those efforts. Then we also have these incentive dollars. And so that's just why you hear about the different program areas. Did I help answer your question, Spencer, or did I miss any piece of what you're asking?
No, but that's why I think a meeting would be so important to kind of clarify where we can go in terms of our framework. And then what would be, because I heard a meeting several ago about advocacy. And so I just want to make sure that I think sitting in the same room is really important. I know we already talked about that, but we keep talking about all these things that the committee can do. And I think I need to sit in and understand better what we can literally do, and then what we can't do, and go from there forward. So that was it. So hopefully that meeting will come together.
I'm taking that as Spencer volunteering to help us frame our next incentive solicitation.
Or our next our visioning meeting on how to move that discussion along.
Right. And piggybacking on what Spencer is saying, Spencer, one of the things as we've come through this, as that money flowed down from either the federal government or from the state, it came with limitations. Rafe is talking about Moyer and this funding and that funding. They come with restrictions. And within those restrictions, the feedback that we were able to give was, well, then the priority would be, yeah, then we'd like to see the buses, or we'd like to have diesel trucks, you know, have a chance to be able to do that because those are impacting us a great deal. But the program came structured with restrictions at the state level or at the federal level already. It wasn't our design of this is what we necessarily wanted to do with incentive dollars. So part of the advocacy is also being able to come with what is it in our voice that we want to be able to do so that we can advocate for the flexibility of the dollars to meet the demands of what's happening within this community. That's part of what that envisioning program idea needs to also do for us. It is help us find that voice of advocacy and priority so that we apply it where in the soft belly of the federal or state government to give us that flexibility.
And, you know, maybe building upon Pat's comment there, I think Spencer and everyone, you know, I think part of the advocacy and some of the ideas that may come out of the, you know, the visioning meeting is it maybe identifying which ones fall within the steering committee and the air district and which ones maybe are outside, but then there is advocacy on connecting with county planning department or, you know, depending on, you know, it's also pointing then, hey, if these are important areas for the community, they may not fully fall within our framework, but then what is the right organization? And, you know, we can also help then identify, you know, as a group, as an air district, who are the right people to advocate with for those changes, whether it's just a legislative change so we can spend the money the way the community wants, or if it's just something not, you know, to take an extreme. I know we're talking about air, but like if someone says, hey, water's the issue, you know, helping point in the right direction.
Right, or it's SACOG's money that we need to be able to have direction with.
Can I
Tito,
add
were you
something
trying to
real
raise your hand?
Yeah. Real quick, we talk about advocacy, and thanks, Franz, for bringing it up, because I think in my mind, you know, I'm thinking those decision makers, right? The people that actually have already engaged with us, the Eric Guerras and the Phil Cerna, who actually have policy-making decisions that could affect us, right? And it is election season. And so I know they're busy campaigning, but we need to start, you know, getting them into our room again and have this conversation be a part of their policies making or campaign, whatever it is that they're doing right now. And I feel like we're not doing that enough. We met him one time. I think Eric was supposed to meet us a couple of times. We haven't seen him, right? But Phil Cerna was reaching out to us. But these are the guys that are supposed to be on our side. And I don't think we do enough of that. So I hope that we put this as a priorities as well.
And, you know, Tito, to your point there, I think that was one that Bill was strongly suggesting as like a subcommittee, potentially in the, you know, again, the steering committee will decide, but I know he was suggesting that as being like a subcommittee is just, you know, doing those direct connections with the electeds to help promote the different things. But these are all great pieces to be thinking about that can be all part of that visioning discussion as well.
And how we prioritize, right? There is only, I think, so many we can tackle at like one time. And so maybe even start thinking, what do we want to start doing first? You know, because I think there's so many great ideas and so many different like arms that we can approach this from. But really, I think trying to narrow down and like, okay, we're going to do this first, and then we're going to, you know, take this next step, I think is really going to move us forward. It's
also true, if I may say, that if you want to build those partnerships or you want to have that influence, folks want to know what you stand for. Folks want to know what it is that you're doing. They just don't want to hear, oh, we're waiting for a good idea. What are you working on that they can join in, that they can get behind? That's also important. And that's why that visioning needs to take place. There has to be some there, not just a hope or an aspiration, but hey, this is what we're working on. This is our priority. All right. Okay. It looks like we've kind of exhausted this. Where are we in the agenda? At this point, my computer has died.
Yeah. So David, I'm going to circle back with you. Were you able to try to figure out to get a poll back up?
Yeah, I think I did. So bear with me. I have set up a poll for four question, week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each of those we have multiple choices of the days that you guys are available. So let's try this works. If not, we'll figure out a different route. So if you guys could fill out the 4, I will launch it and see it works. It's my first time doing a poll, so bear with me.
David, do you want everyone to fill it back out, or would you like just, and by the way, this is for the committee members, and Richard there is the alternate on that. Do we want everyone to fill it out, David, or just those that did not already fill out?
Let's have everybody fill it out because I don't know who filled out the first survey.
Okay.
So all the members that are here, please fill it out.
I was just trying to think of, because I think Bill did fill it out on the other, but obviously he's not here tonight. I don't know about Carlos, so we'll just do our best. Vincent, you had a question?
Yes, these are the days that we are available.
Yes. So fill in the days that you are available.
I can't.
You have 4 questions with week 1 through 4.
I don't see a place to put in a answer.
It's multiple choice.
You touch it.
Yeah,
Because
it's
make
multiple
it smaller
choice.
and
Click on
bigger,
it.
David. Some of us wear thick glasses, man. We can't read this font.
You touch next to the date and it makes a check mark.
Oh, it doesn't work for me. I'm still looking at it, but if
Janice,
it works for you guys, that's good.
Yeah, Janice, we may not have the same access to it, which is good.
Your host or your co-host, Janice.
Oh, okay, I see.
Vincent, do you have another question? I see your hand still up.
No, thank you.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure we were addressing anything.
Oh, it's because I'm a co-host. Okay, got it.
I'm not sure, but I think that's the case.
I will just say this real quick while it's populating. I'm glad, Stephanie, this has been a very good suggestion because while Thursday is still on the list, it is dropping. It's like a horse race. It's failing at the end. It's not as high as we otherwise might have thought.
Right. So it looks like we have 11 members, and so we have 11 inputs or responded. So I think we could end the poll and see the results. Can I see the results?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
Oh.
91% for Mondays.
So Monday on week 1 looks like the top. Monday week 2. Monday week 4, 82%, and then Monday week 3. Anything besides Monday, Wednesday on week 1, 70%. Wednesday on week 2, that's 73%. And looks like that's it.
So Monday or Wednesdays, that's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah,
Dave?
Mondays or Mondays, week 1, 2, 3, and 4, or Wednesdays, weeks 1 and 2.
Do we just go with the highest vote?
Looks like Monday is the winner.
Yeah, Monday, week 1.
Week 1, 2, or I'm
Actually, another day, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all kind of
Yeah,
close,
But the first week has the highest, yeah.
Yes.
right?
correct, correct.
Mhm.
Can I point something out, though?
Yes.
Not universally, but the first Monday in the week, I'm sorry, the month tends to be a holiday or the observed holiday. So we might be constantly having to
Get bumped.
yeah, so that's just something to consider.
Good point.
And that would be true for September because it is the Labor Day Monday. I was just looking at a calendar, Spencer.
Sometimes there's Monday Night Football too, but I just thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
So that case will be the 2nd or the 4th Monday.
The 2nd or the 4th Monday?
Yep, 82% for 2nd and 82 for the 4th week. So the same, either one.
Bishop Chris, you have your hand up?
Yeah, looking at Mondays, now going back to staff, if this came to Monday, what kind of pressure would that put on you and staff, Mark, to prepare things for Monday? Would you prepare it on a Thursday, a Friday? And give a ballpark figure, if that happened, what type of pressure would that put on staff?
You know, I'm going to answer your question a little bit differently, Bishop Chris. You know, it is obviously a Monday is a little bit more challenging, but we'll make it work if this is if this is the best day for the committee, we'll make it work on our end. The biggest impact will just be that if there are last minute changes, we probably won't be able to get them in just being a Monday, because David, correct if I'm wrong here, but I believe we'll need to finalize everything by the Wednesday before. You know, it will be a little more challenging, but we want to be cognizant of the community's availability. That's more important. We'll make anything else work. Richard?
Just real quickly on there, though the data speaks for itself, although 2nd Monday, 3rd Monday, I would not be able to attend at all. But I'll tell you what, Wednesday's coming out as a good alternative to solve the problem with meeting preparation and everything else like that. Just putting that out there.
Mondays aren't good for me for the second week of the month, because it's the day before my neighborhood association meeting and I have to prep for it. It's also my church obligation. So on Wednesday, so.
Wednesday is not a good day for me. I have clients all day long, so I won't be able any Wednesday, and it's hard for me to cancel my clients. So, but I believe that, I mean, it's clear. I mean, it says Monday, majority of people voted right now, and here are the results.
Richard and Rhonda, I'm sorry if someone else was about to speak. I just want to ask a clarifying question. Make sure I heard correctly. It wasn't all Mondays were bad. It was 2nd and 3rd Mondays for you, Richard. And if I heard you correctly.
That is correct. I have police commission every 2nd Monday and United Latinos board meeting every 3rd Monday. But 1st or 4th Monday does work fine.
And Rhonda, your conflict on Mondays was?
No, I don't have a conflict on Monday. My conflict's on Wednesday. Every 2nd and 3rd Wednesday. We have I have meetings on a Thursday, the 2nd and 3rd Thursday.
Sorry, my confusion.
Yeah. So I don't want to jam. I don't want to jam myself up, you know.
So Richard, you can on the 1st Monday, correct?
I can do first Monday or fourth Monday, yes.
Yeah,
What about staying in the same fourth? Because right now we're the fourth week of the month, right? The last Tuesday, or the last Tuesday of the month, basically the fourth Tuesday. Why don't we stay in that same week and try the fourth Monday?
that sounds good.
Even though there
I
might
like
be
it.
holidays
Like
that
it,
might
yeah.
fall on Monday.
Fourth Monday, not too many holidays that fall on fourth Mondays.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I can go
Okay.
with that, Pat.
I could go with that then.
All right.
Why not? Let's try that.
Yeah,
So just making sure we're confirmed then. So the direction from the committee is shoot for fourth Monday. Would you like to start for August? So next month's meeting will be the fourth Monday. I just want to clarify, we can do either. We just want to work what's best for yourselves. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Richard of starting it in August, and we'll do a vote here real quick just to formalize this, but it just as a quick, as the committee puts forward a motion, just making sure that we know if we're talking August or waiting until September. Quickly scrolling through, I see sort of a green check from Stephanie. I saw a thumbs up from Richard. Thumbs up from Rhonda. Okay, so if the committee would if anyone would like to make a motion of switching for the fourth Monday, Pat, I'm gonna turn it back over to you. Actually, the correct way to do this is Pat, I'm gonna turn it back over to you for.
Do I have someone who's willing to put forth a motion for the fourth Monday of the month starting in August of 2022?
I motion that we start meeting on Monday, on the fourth Monday, starting August of what?
2022.
No, I thought you had a date for August. Okay, August.
No, I don't have a date.
Fourth
Just this-
Monday. Everybody look for the fourth Monday.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll vote, please?
It's August the 22nd.
David, do you want to do that or do you want me to do it?
The fourth Monday is the 22nd.
I think David is frozen.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and do a roll call. Bishop Chris,
Yes.
Jesus Cervantes,
Yes,
Spencer Eberly,
Yes.
Carlos, I think he's not here tonight. Rhonda,
Yes.
Tito,
Yes, ma'am.
Bill's not here tonight. Lisa,
Yes.
John's Rice is not here. Taylor, Sam,
Yep.
Patricia Shelby,
Yes.
Vincent Valdez, Stephanie,
It's a little meeting.
Stephanie Williams,
Yes.
Or Richard, on
Richard?
behalf.
or Richard. Sorry, Richard.
Yeah, Vince did a thumbs up emoji, so I'm there with Vince.
Okay.
All right. The vote has passed. We will meet again on August 22nd, the fourth Monday of the month, starting next month, August 2022.
All right, great. Okay, we just have a few minutes left for a couple of items. One is a new business, upcoming meeting topics. So for the August meeting, is there any potential topics? I know that we had United Latinos. United Latinos could give an update on the monitoring project that they've been working on. So I know Richard has offered that to give a presentation for that. So that's one of the meeting agenda topics. And any other suggestions by steering committee members?
At that point, we should be able to also finalize a meeting if we've had a poll and be able to make a selection for a meeting time and some agenda topics for revisioning.
Yeah, we can also put it in the survey, right, Pat, in terms of, you know, any ideas that folks want
Right.
for the visioning.
Can we also have a discussion about new officers? Those potentially interested and those that we can persuade to be interested. Yeah, Bill and I have appreciated this. We need some new juice. And I see some very, very good talent here, Sam. Everly.
Pat, that reminds me of, you know, I used to have someone I worked with that used to say, they shall remain nameless, but they go by the initials of Pat Shelby.
Yes. Anyway, but yes, I want to be a happy bee worker.
All right.
And as you see, I'm in a uniform in a parking lot. I have been contracted and I've been given a 2-year contract for this job. I think at the end of that it'll kill me, but I've agreed to do 2 years transition, and this job is bigger than I expected it would be. So that means I am going to be pulled away from Sacramento just about every weekend for 9 months.
Fair enough there. Okay, and again, if anyone else has any other agenda items, you can route them to Pat and Bill and they'll get them to us as well, or you can also email the AB 617 clerk of the board address as well. Vincent, your hand's up.
Yes, can we add the event for the phase 3 monitoring? We could talk about that as well at that meeting.
That's probably a great, Vincent, I think that's probably a great idea. I think we'll hopefully have some information at that point.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
Sounds great. All right.
With that, we're should open up for any other public comments that people might have. Adrian, you see your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. So great meeting. Very interested in what you all chat about at the visioning session. That should be great. Last night we were able to kick off our, our second air grant, our SNAC 2.0 project, particularly the participatory budgeting process that we'd like to conduct. Basically what we're doing is we're, SNAC 1.0, we identified several strategies that community members wanted to see in North Sac and in Oak Park Fruit Ridge around emissions reduction strategies and actions that can be taken there. You can go to Valley Vision's website to see what community members came up with. And so with this next phase, we're trying to utilize participatory budgeting and resident-led budgeting in advancing the work. And we have a survey out that I'm about to put in the chat. Basically, we're inviting everyone who's interested to help us develop the participatory budgeting governance structure, basically like how decisions are going to get made around the use of these funds. However, of course, only residents of the neighborhoods that we're working in would be able to actually vote through the participatory budgeting process. But if you're interested in participatory budgeting, I know it's come up as an AB 617 topic here and elsewhere before. Feel free to respond to that survey. So thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
So just one last thing from the district. CARB has, once again, as they do every year, start soliciting the districts and also the public and community members on the next year's nominations for communities. And so just so that you guys are in the loop of the entire 617 program that we're running, We are also going to be, continuing the same ask that we had last year, with the caveat that, we believe that the district should, or the CARB should be adequately funding the program to support these additional communities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. If there is.
I just want to say, Janice, thank you for that announcement. That's a great announcement to hear. I know the SNAC 2.0 meeting that I attended with Valley Vision yesterday, there was a lot of conversation about expansion, and some of the neighborhoods and communities that came to that meeting that expressed a desire to look into that. So absolutely great news. Thank you for that.
Okay. If there isn't any more public comments, I think we can adjourn, Pat. We have our.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
Oh, we all want to stay with each other. So Stephanie has submitted a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Lisa Lindsay. Folks, we've had a great meeting, and I thank you, and thank you for letting me join you in this mobile venue that this worked. And hopefully we get together. I would love to be able to sit down and break bread with you all as soon as we can. So with that, this meeting of the South Sacramento Florin AB 617 committee is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Good, Pat.
Good night.
Ending the
Good,
recording.
everybody.
Bye.
Good, everybody.
All right.
Everyone have a
Nice to
great
you,
night.
Pat.
Stay safe and